Wait for everybody to get the notification. I feel like I should have some theme music or something, guys. Welcome. We're going to give everybody some time to get here. Make sure our notification went out. Happy Monday to you. Happy Moon Day to you guys. That sounded like the notification going on. Yeah. So we're going to give everybody some time. And then we're going to do our astrology report. Giving people some time to come on in. So, if you're doing playback, you would definitely want to go ahead and fast forward if you're going to be watching the playback to maybe like 3 or 5 minutes in, because we're giving people some time to come on in as we are doing our weekly astrology report. There's some things going on in the planets that may cause some arguments. You got to pay attention to what's going on in your relationships in this energy, your friendships, your partnerships, your hey Sky, how are you, sweetie? So you got to pay attention to some things. We're giving everybody some time to come on in. So I want to welcome you guys. This is the report for Aries season. So we're in Aries season and we're doing this week's astrology report. We're going to take a look and see what's going on with the planets and how it's affecting you. And maybe why you're feeling some of the things you're feeling. Maybe why people are acting. I miss you too, sweetie. Maybe why people are acting the way that they're acting, right? So we're going to be going through this. And I don't want to do a lot of repeating. So I'm just going to give a few more minutes for some more people to jump on. Hopefully they got my notification. How has this energy been treating you guys? How has the energy been treating you? So I wanted to be consistent. I know you told you guys that I'm going to be jumping on Mondays as well as Wednesdays. So Mondays we're doing the astrology report, and then on Wednesdays we're doing our tarot poll, right? As being able to navigate through this energy in Aries season. So let's start from the top. The sun is currently positioned in Aries, okay? You guys know that's first house energy. So when we're talking about first house energy, we're talking about life. We're also talking about the body on a whole. We're also talking about spirit. We're talking about beginnings, like things new, like springtime, things starting to bloom. We're talking about your appearances, how other people see you, what you want the outward world to see as far as your personality is concerned. So we're really talking about your I amness as you're moving throughout the next 12 months, right? So whenever we come into Aries season, we're literally starting a new calendar year in the zodiac wheel, okay? So when you're dealing with astrology, you don't start the year in January, like the calendar for the Gregorian calendar. You actually start the season in Aries. So this will be the new calendar year when you're dealing with astrology, okay? So we're at the second week in an Aries season, first house energy. This is where you begin to step into your I amness. This is your awareness of self. This is your powerhouse, right? This is first house energy where we're talking about your self and your personality. But it's always also the house where you deal with first impressions. First impressions of how people receive you. First impressions of the person or the personality that you show to the outer world, okay? This is a sense of identity. This is a sense of who you are. So within this Aries season, you can now reinvent yourself and really come into a sense of who you are now, right? Because the person that you were last year in Aries season is not the person that you should be this year in Aries season, okay? And I also want to say too, in the Aries energy, people can tend to focus a lot on their physical body and their outer like physical appearance, okay? Aries is ruled by Mars energy. So this month in Aries season, we are going to be dealing with heavy Mars energy because that is where the sun is positioned, right? So we're talking about being assertive or aggressive, just depending on where you are in your energy, right? Taking action or not, because this energy can help you to, move to get things done. Okay. It's also a fire sign. Okay. This is also about competition. So you can find a lot of competition within this month. Okay. okay? And let me just say this, some people are in competition with themselves. So this doesn't necessarily have to be competition outside of yourself. This is why it's important to do your work, okay? So you can find competition here in the Mars energy. You can also find survival mode in the Mars energy. You can find strength in the Mars energy. You can also find courage and being daring, okay? You can find anger, war, a lot of passion in this Aries energy. You can also find your high sex drive, right? So this is a lot of sexual energy within the Mars energy. You can also find conflict here in Mars energy and fighting your spirit. Okay, so there's a lot going on within first house. It's really give you an opportunity to identify who you are and how you want to move forward for the next 12 months. Okay, now Aries, just so you guys know, it is a positive polarity, and whenever we're dealing with positive polarities, we're dealing with masculine energy. So for the next balance of the Aries season for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be dealing with heavy masculine energy or the positive polarity. So when we're dealing with that type of energy, there's always some type of initiation, some type of action, right? And not to mention, masculine energy is more logical, more intellectual than it is emotional, right? So you can find as you're moving throughout the month in Aries, you need to tend to move not so emotionally, but more intellectually, maybe more logically, right? Or if you're too logical, too intellectual, it may cause balance, or it may need balance to come in to balance some of that energy out, where you're just not taking action before you stop and check in with yourself. Okay, so that's what you need to know, just where we are this month. This month, the archetype that we're dwelling under is that Mars energy, that Aries energy, okay, and it can be explosive, it can be argumentative, it can be full of conflict, but it can also be full of passion, drive, being able to take that step, being assertive and going after what you want and getting things done, reinventing yourself. Who do you want yourself to be seen as we're moving through this next zodiac wheel? Okay, so let's take a look and see what's going on in the heavens, right? Because you know not, or you fight not with flesh and blood, but you're fighting with principalities and powers in high places that you know not of. And that is just, you're dealing with archetypal energy from the planets that are interacting with us on a daily basis. So I just broke down to you where the sun is currently positioned in Mars, right? The sun is in Mars, we're in Aries, which means that you are going to have to re-identify yourself. This gives you an opportunity to tap into who you want to be seen for this next this next zodiac year, okay? Now, we have the moon position in Aquarius right now, okay? Now, let me say this. When we get over to Aquarius, that is 11th house energy. So we're talking about energy that's ruled by Uranus. That type of energy, when it comes in, is really more about why you're here and what your mission and what your purpose is as we're moving throughout, your lifespan, okay? So Uranus comes in, and if there's something that's in the path that is blocking you from obtaining, that's blocking you from accomplishing, Uranus is going to come in and break shit up so you can get back on path, okay? So what you can also feel with this Aquarius energy, who's ruled by Uranus, you can feel because it's placed in the moon, you can feel that a lot of people may not be so emotionally attached. There is a tendency, I want to say there's a tendency kind of like to be in your own bubble, right? So you can find that you really don't want to, you got to watch your connection with other people with this Aquarian energy is what I'm saying, right? You're going to have to socialize within this energy, but not just socialize so you don't have to deal with things, right? And emotionally detach yourself. It's really important in this energy for you to stay emotionally grounded so you can know what's yours and what's not yours, okay? You with the moon being in Aquarius, it's kind of like you feel the need to break free from whatever emotional limitations or whatever emotional conflict that arises, right? You feel you don't want to be too connected. Like, just give me the facts is really what you're asking for with this Aquarian energy in the moon. Just give me the fact. I'm not so much into the emotional aspect. Like, let's have an intelligent conversation is really what you're going to be feeling with this moon energy. I'd rather talk about this from an intellectual standpoint of view than speaking about this from how you feel. Okay, so that's what's going on in emotions right now, right? Aquarius is like, I don't mind having this conversation, right? Because I think I know, like, intellectually you want to talk about this, right? But what I can't deal with is your feelings. And so let's talk about intellectually how we can resolve this problem. But if you're going to come in with the emotions and want to get all touchy feely, like, I'm not really down for that. So that's where the energy is in the moon right now. Okay, so you can't take things personally, that people may be a little bit disconnected emotionally. Now, with the sun placement in Mars, right, what's happening at this point, you can then find argumentative energy because somebody may want to talk about this stuff, right? Because they got water in their chart. So they're over here with their emotions and they want to talk about it emotionally, right? But you don't necessarily want to because you're being heavily affected by the moon energy, right? So it can play out in many different ways. So you don't want to take things personally as you're moving throughout this energy in your moon, and people just don't really want to hear your emotions. So if people want to have a conversation without all of the emotions, just know that is because the moon is in Aquarius. What you can find, however, as we are swapping over closer to midnight, when the moon enters Pisces, that's a totally different story when the moon enters Pisces. Because when the moon enters Pisces, we now enter the realm of water. And not only do we enter the realm of water tomorrow, because this is going to happen at about 12:30 a.m. So by the time you wake up tomorrow, right, people can be deep in their feelings and their narrative could be based on their own story, which may not necessarily match your story. Okay, so be mindful. We're switching over into a new energy as far as your emotions are concerned tonight. We're dealing with tonight, you're going over into Pisces, okay? Pisces is a negative polarity, which means that it is feminine by nature, okay? It is also mutable, so it can observe and soak up things. Like, it can take on other people's emotions. It can take on other people's problems, right? Now, Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, which means, right, you have one aspect with Jupiter is expanding things, but you also have the aspect of Neptune that's bringing in that spiritual awakening that you need, okay? So you have an opportunity within your emotions, right, to really check in and see what you're feeling, really check in and make sure that you're not holding on to past emotions that may now be triggering and asking you to deal with things, okay? So as of 12:30 a.m. tonight, just depending on where you are, when we go over into the moon in Pisces for the next 2.5 days, you want to pay attention to emotionally what's going on. You want to pay attention that you're not getting in your feelings and you're not taking things personally, because we do have argumentative energy in the air, and we also have energy where it's going to be causing you to question your relationships, whether that's friendships, whether that's partnerships, whether that's business ships, whether that's situationships. Okay, you have that energy where relationships are going to be in question. All right. And you can find that because currently you got Aquarius positioned in Venus. Once again, that's very intellectual, right? Not so much emotional, very intellectual. What values are you bringing to this relationship? Are you taking more than you give, right? So that Aquarius energy is really coming in with that Uranus power, right? Okay. Right now, it is very important for you to pay attention to the values and the core of any relationship that you're going through right now. It's critical to pay attention to relationships, because Venus and Aquarius and Venus may not necessarily give you that heart feely touchy type shit. Okay, it can be very intellectual. Okay, very box checking. Okay, checking boxes. Now, what you have to understand about life is not so straight and narrow. Oh, thank you. I appreciate this. Life is not. I appreciate these are my Dollar Tree glasses, y'all. They are only $1. Well, $1.25 now, but I just need them to see because I'm farsighted. But I got them from Dollar Tree. So keep in mind, right, with Aquarius and Venus, the reason why you want to pay attention to that energy is because that Aquarian energy can tend to take out the emotions, right? And Venus is love, it's pleasure, and it's all, it's all about really operating from a place of unity. It's about you being able to balance things with the Libra energy, as well as being able to bring in stability with that Taurian energy, right? Now, there's always a negative and a positive polarity to things. So you can either go way to one side or way to the other side of things. And your job is really just to stay in the middle and use the energy to work for you and not against you, right? So if you know Venus is in Aquarius, which deals with the love, and you know that Aquarian energy can be more intellectual than it is emotional, right? You want to pay attention because the sun is in Aries, which means it can cause conflicts and argument. So you're not necessarily going to be looking at your arguments from a place of love and endearment and empathy and compassion. With Aquarius and Venus is more intellectual. Let me check these boxes. Let's talk about this intellectually. Fuck how you feel, really. Okay. Not to mention you also have Aquarius and Mars. So I'm telling you, with all of this Aquarian energy going on right now, what you are going to feel is that your relationships with people may arise where you're getting a lot of conflict in your core or a lot of conflict at work, okay? It does not help that Aquarius is in Mars. It doesn't help you if you are not really connected to how you feel. Because one of the things that can happen is you can be very aloof to other people's feelings, because it can tend to be all about you, or you can tend to, I want to say, overlook support from people that are close to you because you're not necessarily reading how their emotions as being supportive. You can read that as being critical. Okay. Now, we currently have Mars, aka Aries energy, sitting in Mercury. So you got to watch that energy too, because people are going to be communicating from, just tell me what you want, like all that drawn out shit, like come on, come out with it. So you got that quick, fast moving energy with Mercury and Aries, or Aries being in Mercury. Okay. You also have the aspect here where this can cause a tendency for people to want to argue. Right. So this energy can bring in argumentative energy, but it can also bring in energy where you're eager to learn, where you want to learn. OK, and you're open to the new ideas. So you can have, different end of the spectrum. The things that I really want to bring out here is the amount of Aquarius energy I see going on. And the reason that I say the amount of Aquarian energy that I see going on, the reason why I talk about the amount of Aquarian energy that I see going on is because Aquarius rules, or if you have to look it up in astrology, it's known as the area of good spirit, right? So this includes friends, this includes your gifts, this includes your hopes, right? This includes your goals and your aspirations. This includes why the hell you are here. Okay. Now, Aquarian energy is more on the masculine end because it is a positive polarity. Okay. So it's very masculine in nature, and it is a fixed sign, which means that it doesn't really bend and ebb and flow very, very well. It is also co-ruled by Saturn, which is order, structure, discipline, and Uranus. Why we here? What's the path? What's the goal? Okay. So just so you know, there's a lot of that energy right now in the charts, right? What's the path? Why we here? What's the goal with that Saturn energy that's co-ruling Aquarius, right? As well as being able to do a lot of group, like core group things. So that Aquarian energy can bring in the charm, the charisma, right? But it's still about why we here. Let's get it done. What's the purpose? Is there discipline? So let's look and see what Aquarius is affecting. It's affecting your moon. It's affecting Venus. Your moon is your emotions. Venus is how you're loving right now. Mars is your action. That's your movement, okay? Or war or protective energy, okay? So it's affecting your protective energy. It's affecting your first house. Hey, Aisha. It's affecting, see, it can be very overwhelming. So right now, it's affecting your first house in the aspect of the sun is currently in Aries and Aquarius. It's the sun is currently in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and Aquarius is now stationed in Mars. So remember, right? Mars is that warrior type energy. That's conflict. That can be arguments, but it can also be passion. It can also be you getting up and taking action. You going after the things that you want, right? So let's think about this from the sense of how you're going to be experiencing this energy, okay? So you can experience this energy from someone that's doing their work. They're going to be more open with that Mars energy and with that Aquarian energy to group with people. And what's the plan? How do we accomplish what we want done, right? That's if they're actually working and stuff. That's the higher vibration of it, right? But if you have someone coming in with the lower vibration energy, it's going to be conflict. Well, I don't want to do it that way. But why do we have to do it this way? Well, why do we always have to use your ideas? Well, that don't make sense. So you have that energy going in, okay? So having the Aquarian energy in these placements are not bad if you are doing the work and if you're aware how the energy affects you, okay? So let's also keep in mind that when we're dealing with Aquarian energy, we're also dealing with groups here, okay? We're dealing with groups, but we're also dealing with you being able to stay on path on why the hell that you're here. And I want to say, when you look at the planet that Aquarius is ruled by, and we're not looking at Saturn, we're looking more so at Uranus, right? This is one of the highest octave planets that there is. This is to where you get to the place where you know that you know. So this energy, you can tend to think you know but don't know, or this energy you can think you don't know but you do know. So let me explain how this happened, because Aquarius is the archetype of I know. So you either know who to call to get something done, you know how to resolve something, or there's an inner knowing. So there's some form of I know. Not necessarily I know it all, right? But you may know who to reach out to get something accomplished, right? So that's the type of energy that's in the air right now. A lot of I know energy, right? You know the right person, you know the right way to resolve the situation. So on a positive energy, it can operate like that, right? But if you are fighting the change that's coming in and you're not operating in your I know-ness per se, it's going to come in and it's going to break up and destroy things that are not in line with where you're going. And that can, so some of you can find where the arguments are concerned, you can find that relationships may be a little bit challenging right now. And and I like to stress, maybe not just relationship with other people. This could be relationship with yourself, relationships with money, relationships with your health, okay? As well as relationship with people. Okay, so you're gonna have to keep this on a broader perspective, because it's coming in and asking you, are you on path? Are you on path with the way that you feel? Do you need to get out your feelings and maybe look at this from an intellectual standpoint of view where you can actually deal with stuff? That's what it's in the moon. So it's asking you that question, right? So with Aquarius being placed in Venus, it's really asking you to take a look at how you love. Is this really the path that you want? Is this relationship really working for you? Are you dealing more with the taker than you are with the giver? Does this relationship really, is this really the path? Do you guys have the same goal? Do you have the same mission, right? Or you just kind of flopping in the winds, all right? So and you know, you got to ask yourself these questions. So, and if it's not, Uranus is coming in to break that shit up. Hence the conflict that's going on, right? Now, so you also have Aquarius and Mars. This is the protective planet. This is the planet of passion. It's also the planet of war. So Uranus is asking one again, is this part of the fucking plan? Are you on path? Now, this is where it gets tricky because Aquarius is also ruled or co-ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is asking for the structure and the discipline to come in your emotions. All right. It's asking to come in how you love. It's asking to come in maybe how you deal with conflicts and your passion and getting things done. Right. Aquarius is also now in Saturn. So we're dealing with structure, order, the timekeeper. Okay. So you need to understand this placement right now that we have, it is going to bring a lot of breaking up for rebuilding. You can find a lot of argumentative energy. You can find a lot of maybe people not operating from the place of I feel, but I'm paying attention to what I see. I'm paying attention to how you move. I'm making more of an intellectual decision. This may not necessarily have anything to do with how I feel, but I've been watching movements. So I have to make this adjustment in my finances, or I got to make this adjustment in my relationship. I may not be able to give so much attention to this. Okay, where do I need maybe to let some things go? So right now, if you're experiencing things where there's just like a headbutt or things just don't seems to be working out, you really need to allow things to unfold. I have to do a pull for myself today. Hey, Aquarius, how are you, sweetie? I have to do a pull for myself today because there's a lot of energy brewing, right? And then it made me go look at the planets to see why, where's all of this shit coming from? Like, what's going on? But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense what's going on. And then I also want to point out another thing, okay? Uranus is now, Taurus is now in Uranus. And I keep stressing about Uranus a lot. With Taurus being in Uranus, we are now talking about your money. We're talking about your stability. We're talking about your livelihood. Okay? So right now, you got Uranus affecting how you love. You got it affecting your actions. You got it affecting your money. Okay? And you have it affecting your discipline, order, structure, okay, self-mastery. The next thing I want to point out too is Pluto, Capricorn is in Pluto. And remember, and I think we spoke about this last week when I told you guys that Pluto is all about the transformation. And with Capricorn being in Pluto, is asking you for discipline and structure. This whole thing is really setting you up for the next year to get order and structure, to remove relationships that doesn't work, to remove bad habits that doesn't work, right? To remove bad mindsets that no longer work, okay? It's really asking you to get rid of the pieces that no longer work and focus on the newness that's coming in, okay? Venus is saying, okay, what doesn't work? What doesn't work? And I want you guys to keep in mind, Aquarius is a co-ruling planet. So when you think of Aquarius, you just can't think about Aquarius from the Uranus standpoint of view. You also got to think about Aquarius from the Saturn standpoint of view. Right? So it also has some of Saturn's traits. Okay? So if you're looking at some of Saturn's traits, you want to go to like 10th house energy, right? So you got a mixture of the 10th house energy where order, structure, right? There's rules, there's laws to things. There's, there's a way to how we do things. Now keep in mind, right? Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Capricorn is a feminine energy. That's an energy that actually has feminine qualities. Okay. All right, y'all. There's the message today with what's going on in the planet is really simple. You're going to find pushbacks in your relationships, and maybe not just external relationships. This could be relationship with yourself. All right. The major thing that you want to look out for is how you're going to be dealing with stuff as these change within relationships are happening. The moon is going to be swapping over to Pisces at midnight, okay, around 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, just depending on where you're at. It may flip over differently. When the moon goes over into Pisces, you can find for the next 2.5 days, people are in their feelings. And because the sun is showing up in Aries, not only are people going to be in their feelings from an emotional standpoint of view, you may find combustible arguments because the sun is in the planet of war. Not to mention, you have Aquarius showing up in how you're responding to love. And you have Aquarius showing up in how you're responding to protecting your home, protecting your passion, okay? And you have also Aquarius showing up in how you're supposed to be disciplining yourself. Okay, not to mention you got Uranus energy showing up in your money. So people could be getting cursed out about money. You could be circling back to people that owe you money. People that you owe money could be circling around and feel some type of way about it. And I kind of even feel like energetically, people could be coming asking you for money and then getting upset with you and it becomes this big old thing because you're saying no in this season. I feel like a lot of no is happening in this season. There's a lot of no's happening, right? So one of the things that I have discovered as I had time to sit and meditate in this energy today, you also don't want to react before you had time to sit and process anything. Because of the way the energy is moving right now, you do not want to react without first sitting back and processing how you feel. First sitting back and processing maybe what's going through your mind, right? What you don't want to do is react. You don't want to react in this energy. It's very important for you to stop, pause, and think. And get a grip on what you're feeling. Now, it doesn't mean that your feelings are right, wrong, or indifferent. It just means that you are aware of how you feel. You're not necessarily responsible for how anybody else's feel because we all have to deal with our own emotions, right? So the goal here is not to be nasty and to be mean to people, but really to identify why you feel the way you feel, right? Then that way you can articulate and communicate with other people why you feel the way you do. Keeping in mind, you're going to have to move like this, right? Because of all of this Aquarian energy, right? This Aquarian energy is really requiring you within your relationships to be more intellectual. So you're not going to be getting and solving arguments right now, right? You're not going to be getting and solving arguments, especially with your loved ones right now, with a lot of emotions based on where the planets are, okay? Now, it's going to be like that for 2 days when we get into Pisces. It's midnight. You're going to feel some of that when we get into Pisces at midnight, where people are emotional, but the way that they're communicating is not with emotion. They're communicating right now where the Aries is in Mercury, which is your communication house. And with Aries and Mercury, it could be either explosive energy, right? I'm going to fuck you up energy, or how can we get this done? How can we resolve this? Okay? And I don't know if y'all have any questions. Okay, so Akila is saying I was definitely going to reach out today for some help on your natal chart. Yeah, the energy is I can say this, Akil, like if you're paying attention just to where these planets are that I just went over, there's a lot of letting go changes happen in energy. So if anything is popping up, like and pushing you to let go, changes happening, you need to allow it to happen. Do not force things. Do not force people. Okay, boom. Oh, here. Okay, thank you, Spirit. I got it. This is not the season where you want to do things to get a reaction. So if you're going to be doing things in this energy, you don't want to do something to get somebody's reaction in this season, because you may not necessarily like the reaction that you're getting. All right. So it's not a good thing to do things to get a reaction in this season. All right. And I also want to say this is also not a good time for you to do tit for tat energy. So you don't want to do tit for tat. Oh, okay. That's how you feel about something. I'm going to shut you. You don't want to do that. Right. So you really want to move more maturely in this energy. All right. Because remember, what you're doing is grounding and solidifying the energy that you're going to be moving through the rest of the year with. Okay. We're talking about first house energy. How do you want to be presented to the world? Okay. Now, Once again, we swap over to Pisces energy tomorrow. And Pisces energy is known like as the area in the zodiac of bad spirits, which means that there's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of enemies going on here. This is the house of weakness. This is the house where you can find depression, where maybe people isolate themselves in this house. But this is also the house where you gain the greatest amount of self-awakening that you can possibly find. Like all of the shit that you may not have gotten through from Aries season, maybe all the way down to Aquarius season. By the time you get to Pisces season, it literally gives you an opportunity to pool all of your lessons together. So when you swap over into a new year, you're greater. Pisces can also bring that self-sabotage energy. So you want to watch that for the next 2 days when we swap over into Pisces this evening. I'm sorry, at 12:30 a.m., right? Watch that swap over. Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter. So you got to watch the swap over because it's going to make things bigger. That Jupiterian energy make things bigger. So you can find something in an argument that you thought was so minute, right? You thought that this was little. You didn't even think it was a big deal. You didn't even think this shit was a big deal. You didn't even think this was a big deal. You didn't even give it a second thought. And all of a sudden now it's blown way out of proportion. Right? That's that Jupiter energy expanding stuff. Right? So you got to be very careful with how you're communicating right now. All right? And right now, Pisces is in Jupiter. That's where it's placed. Pisces is in Jupiter. Jupiter's in Pisces, let me say it that way. Jupiter's in Pisces, and then you have Pisces at home in Neptune. So you got both. It's stationed at home. You know, it's in its favorite place, y'all. It's stationed at home. It's in its favorite place. Pisces rule the feet. Feet is all about your direction. What direction are you going in? Are you gonna suffer, or are you gonna serve? Which really means suffering means giving away your energy, not really directing your energy to where you want it to go. Whether that's mental energy, emotional energy, or physical energy, right? Emotional energy, it doesn't really matter, right? 12th house energy is where you have a lot of danger of losing yourself if you are not careful. That energy can also bring in great instructions. A great amount of spiritual awareness and understanding can happen within Pisces. So I ask you, within the next 2 days, if you find that your feelings have gotten hurt within the next 2 days, starting at midnight, you know, definitely coming into tomorrow, I want you to ask yourself, why are my feelings hurt? Why are my feelings hurt? Pisces is a feminine energy, so you are going to have some emotions there. And when you get into why your feelings are hurt and you can identify, you know, why am I happy? Why am I glad? Why am I sad? Why am I anxious? Why am I nervous? Pay attention to that energy for the next 2 days as we're in Pisces, because there can be great self-sabotage going on here. Not to mention, like I said, a lot of argumentative energies in that atmosphere. So please don't fall into that. Do not be distracted, and don't do things to get a response. So if you're doing things to people to get a response, don't do that. This is not, you don't want to do that in this energy, because you may not necessarily like the response that you are going to get. Okay. All right. So that's important. So my loves, how has this weather been treating you guys? I don't know if anybody has any questions about the weather or astrology. We can get into that. Let me see. I don't think there's anything else that I want you guys to really. We have North Node in Taurus, which means that people focused on your money, your stability is really what overall the collective, you know, is focusing on. So you do want to pay attention to that. And I think I did say that Neptune is in Pisces. So you got to pay attention to the Pisces energy in the chart, and we got a whole bunch of Aquarius energy. See? And Aisha, we talked about that a few years ago. We talked about the increase. We even talked about your career. The bacon, we talked about that. We talked about there was going to be a change and an increase in a and the growth. And let y'all know, Aisha, do you have a car? Because I see a new vehicle, like sometimes some type of SUV, like a gray SUV. I don't know if it's a Kia, but I see like a gray SUV. All of these vehicles kind of shape the same, but it's a gray SUV. So I don't know if you're getting a car. Oh, you got one. Oh, so you already have one? Okay, yeah. Okay, so you have, okay. So I'm hearing upgrade, and I'm seeing, like, I don't know if the car that you have now is a gray SUV. I don't know if that's the one that you have now, but I'm hearing an upgrade on your car. All right. But I'm feeling hey Nancy. Yours is black. Okay, yeah. I'm hearing gray SUV. So when your spirit directs you to Aisha, you definitely want to make sure that if your spirit directs you to go to the dealership, like today's the day that you need to be going to the dealership, you need to not ask questions, okay? Because there is an upgrade. Don't worry about how the money is going to come. It's just going to show up. But I hear a new car within the next 6 months, okay? A new car within the next 6 months. A great SUV. And I'm seeing Kia. I'm seeing like that black sign, and I can literally see the name Kia on the car. So I don't know if you like Kias, but that's what I'm seeing. Now, keeping in mind, right? I'm doing all the stretching, y'all, because y'all know my shoulders. I'm sorry. I'm about to look a little weird, y'all, but my neck hurts. That's why I'm doing all the stretching, because my neck is hurting me. So, yeah, great SUV. And once again, I don't know who this is for, but I was on here last week and I talked about somebody with a red car that they, whatever, whomever is trying to get your messages back again, somebody red car or red, or so someone with a red car, and their license plate contain the letters C and Z, the letter C and Z, okay? And if you know anyone with a red car, okay, or you have the red car and their license plate is C and Z, however that connection is made, all right, definitely, your car is burgundy, okay, definitely, if that resonates with you, you need to know something about the kidneys. So if you just went to the doctor, you need to go to the doctor. Something about the kidneys and detoxing. So you need to check your kidneys, detoxing, and plenty of water. Okay, so that energy's back again. Red car. My name is no. But Nancy, it was very clear. I saw C N Z. So like Charles, Nancy, Zebra, all the letters that I saw, okay? So you could be the one driving the red car that knows someone with the license plate, or it could be the license plate on the red car, but however that connection is made is connected to something to do with your kidneys, detoxing, and plenty of water, okay? Parenting through ascension, this is a great time to do that, because within this energy that we have, so remember, like, so right now we have like I said, we have Aquarius in Venus. That's your love house, right? So with Aquarius being in Venus, right, it's important at this point for you to be friends with your partner, right? It's going to require you to be friends with your partner, or it's going to require you to reevaluate some stuff, right? So remember, Aquarius is 11th house energy. So with 11th house energy, it's aspirations. It's about groups, working together. Like, does this work or doesn't? Like, what's the purpose here? Is this the path that we should be on? So if you're finding conflicts within the relationships, it's either coming in for you guys to work on the things that need to be worked on, or it's coming in because this is something for you to let go. So what you want to pay attention to right now, my beautiful, is pay attention to any of the arguments that pop up, right? Pay attention to what's said and what's not said. Pay attention to how you guys are ebbing and flowing. Does this work? Right? Does this work? So the code word for, like, in 11th house is I aspire. So if you can say I aspire, and their aspirations and your aspirations you know, they blend, then you're on the right path. But if you find that you're having difficulty trying to mesh your dreams together because they don't like this part and they're not going to do this part, and it just, right, then it's something for you to reevaluate. Keep it in mind, right? With all of those placements in Aquarius, and I said this at the beginning, don't be surprised if your relationships are butting head. Don't be surprised if your friendships. Don't be surprised if there's some shit at the job with people. Don't be surprised if relationship with other peoples are coming to a head for you to deal with some things, okay? And for you to release some things, you know? And the things that you have to release may not necessarily be the people. It may be old thought patterns. It may be old emotions, right? So if you're finding that the person within all of this, you know, relationship change and the focus, if you're finding that you're the common denominator in these situations, you're going to have to focus on maybe what you need to work on and let go, what you need to aspire to, right? What's really your path, okay? Just no romantic feelings anymore. Now you have to think about that. Does that work for you? Does that work for you? Some people, just depending on where you are in your life, you just want a companionship. So that may work where you guys are able to travel together. You're able to do things together. The friendship is beautiful. So there's no desire for sex. You have some people that are older and there's just no desire for sex. So that works for them, right? So you're at the point now, once again, with this energy, does this work for you? Does it work for you? And instead of causing arguments, right? So this is perfect. Okay, so parenting through ascension, this is perfect, right? Perfect. This is a perfect example of does this work for you? So the energy that we have right now is asking you, does this work for you? Now, how are you going to move through this energy? Or are you going to move through this energy arguing about shit that you know is not going to work, right? Or are you going to move through this energy trying to come up with an intellectual, because emotionally you know it's not working, but now, or can you come up with an intellectual, adult, mature way to handle the decisions and the situations? Really, that's what it's calling for. What level of maturity are you operating with now? Okay, see? Now you see how easy that was, parenting through ascension? So that's really what Uranus is asking you. Does this work? And you answered it. No, you want the passion. So now that you know that you want the passion, right? When the arguments pop up, when the self-doubt pops up, when the conflicts pop up, right? You are already aware of where you are, right? I just broke down where the planets are. So you no longer have to respond emotionally, or you no longer have to respond to intellectually where you don't give a shit about somebody's feelings, but you are very clear of where you are, and you still have the information to know if somebody's coming at me right now. We got Mars going on, so I don't really need to deal with the fuck fight energy. We also got, you know, Uranus going on with Aquarius and Venus. The people's not really doing all that love shit right now. Like, they need to check that box off, right? So in your head, this is how you're navigating through this energy. So you no longer got to take the shit personal, because this shit is affecting everybody, right? Everybody's being affected by this. So you can remove the emotions, because Uranus is not asking you to be emotional, or Aquarius is not asking you to be emotional, right? It's asking you, what's your hopes? What's your dreams? What's your aspiration? How can we get this done? Oh, so now that you know, so this is how it works, right? Also, parenting through ascension. Now that we know you need the passion. Oh, you in a relationship where there's no passion? Boop, 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 boop. Let me come in and mess this shit up. Go ahead, deal with that. You're gonna have an argument. Oh, you still want to go over here and deal with Jerry, and it still ain't no passion? Fuck that shit up too. Oh, you still haven't learned your lesson. Now you dealing with Nick, and it's still no passion? Okay, I'm gonna break that shit up too. So you keep going through the cycles of that, because passion is the path. But if you're dating, right, people where there is no passion, it's gonna come in and break that shit up, because that's fucking with the path. That's fucking with the mission. That is messing with the mission. So I'm gonna have to come in and break that up. So you want to be true to what you want in this season. And if you don't know what you want in this Aries energy for the next 3 weeks as we're going through Aries, it gives you an opportunity to really ask those questions. It gives you a perfect opportunity to ask those questions. And I can tell you right now where the planets are. Not only is it giving you an opportunity to ask those questions, but it's also giving you an opportunity to press that out in real time. See, yep, perfect. I tend to be emotional, so it's a relief to be out of it. See, there you go. Right? So people that are water signs, so if I have any water signs on here, breaking that pattern. If I have any water signs on here, let me just break down for you guys some things that you're going to need to know. It is important for my water signs right now to not get too much in your feelings. You're welcome, my love. Water signs, you don't want to get too much in your feelings. It's important right now for my air signs not to get too much in your head. Okay. And it's important for my fire signs not to take action without fully thinking. Okay. So you don't want to be emotionally triggered where you're taking action and not really paying attention to the consequences, before your actions. And for my earth signs in this energy, you really want to be mindful of how you're logically doing things, right? So just be mindful of how you are pressing things out in this energy, right? So earth energy is more about the physical manifestation. So we're talking about logical energy here. We're talking about you being able to make a decision, taking out the emotions, and maybe using science, I want to say, right? Maybe using science, right? But earth energy has to do with practicality. Let's be practical about this. What can we practically do? Right? So it's kind of like, I can't put a glass on a slope, because if I put this bottle of water or glass on a slope, right, practicality is going to tell me that it's not stable. It's going to go down, right? So I would have to make a practical decision to find a flat surface to put my bottle of water on, right? So if the countertop is sloped, I know it. By all practicality, the bottle's going to slide off. So I need to find a flat surface to be more practical if I want my bottle to stand upright. Okay. So when we're dealing with earth energy, it's really about being practical. Sometimes that can take out the intellectual as well as the emotional, right? And it just causes you to take action without incorporating balance. You are not just responsible for mastering your sun sign, aka the month you were born. So if you're a water sign, you just don't have to figure out how to be a water sign. You actually have to know how to move throughout all of these elements, right? So water signs, if you're not a fire sign, you will be able to move through the fire element by your actions. You will be able to move through the earth energy by how practical you are. How do you do things? That's a physical manifestation of things. If you're not, if you're water signs and dealing with the air energy, that's your thoughts, that's your thinking, that's your mental, that's your intellect. Okay. So every day, depending on what it is, you got to tap into that air energy. You may have to think about something. You may have to use your intellect, right? You may have to tap into your fire energy, which is action, getting up and getting something done, doing something, whether it's under the Aries archetype or the Sagittarius archetype to expand things, or whether it's under the Leo archetype where you need to step into your confidence, right? So you are engaging with all of these elements on a daily basis, and just depending on where these elements or these planets or these elements are located is how the conflict and how the story is going to play out. Okay? It just depends, and it's how it's going to play out. So let me break this down in a way that you guys can understand from the standpoint of a Scorpio. Okay. So from the standpoint of a Scorpio, I know as a Scorpio right now, the sun is in Aries. Okay. I'm a water sign. My moon is Gemini, right? So that means I'm dealing with water energy as my sun is in Scorpio, but my moon, which is my shadow side, which is really telling my Scorpio sun how to react, my moon is Gemini. Gemini means I'm a communicator. I'm going to think about some shit. So in my head, if it don't make sense, but Gemini energy is also mutable, which means that if I have enough information, I can change my mind, which then means that my emotions can change and I'm going to act or project out differently, right? So with the sun being in Aries, now that you have my sun position and my moon position, right? The sun position, Scorpio, can be intense. It can be passionate, and it can be all of the things that we get accused of. Okay. So if I have conflict right now with the sun being in Aries, right? If I have conflict right now with the sun in my with the sun in Aries, what's going to happen is emotionally my Gemini is going to go into my head. So I'm going to start thinking about it. So emotionally, the first place that my moon is going to go is in my head. So I'm going to question it. I'm going to contemplate it. I'm going to want to communicate how I feel. I'm going to want to talk about it. I'm going to want to expound on it. I'm going to want to do all of these things. So I'm in my head, probably overthinking it, or maybe feeling like we need to talk about this, right? Then my Scorpio sun is going to project out me feeling the need emotionally to talk about stuff, right? My Scorpio sun is going to get intense and passionate about that. I might even get a little nasty about that if I feel like you're avoiding me. And because the sun is in Aries, that's going to cause an argument because my nastiness with my emotions paired with the sun in Aries, that's all about war, right? Also, and I believe that we have Aquarius in Mercury, which means that I'm not really trying to give a fuck how you feel right now. I'm just trying to check these boxes off. We need to have an intellectual conversations about how we communicating. So do you see how all of that is going to play out? So even though the sun is in Aries, Aries is just saying be careful because whatever you do could be explosive or it could be filled with passion or you could feel protected, right? But you're still going to operate based on the archetype that you live in. So that's either going to play out in your head if you're an air sign, in your emotions if you're a water sign, or in your actions if you're a fire sign, or maybe in your practicality, okay, if you're an earth sign. So it's important for you guys to understand that. The sun in Aries just mean that right now everybody could have the potentiality to endure a lot of arguments, or you have the potential energy to get things done and be super creative and super passionate about the things that you want to accomplish. All right. With that being said, I need you guys to understand you are not just responsible for the energy that you put out. You are also responsible for the energy that you receive in. You want to create a sacred space for you. I told you guys last time on the last live, I have a love jar. And you just want to create a sacred space for you where you can store things and put things, that may not necessarily be on the vibration for your own personal space. I did a pull earlier and it talked, a personal pull for myself earlier. And it talked about that. It talked about creating a sacred space. And your sacred space doesn't necessarily have to be a space physically. It can be an emotional space, a sacred emotional space where you have your boundaries, and I'm talking about healthy boundaries. I'm not talking about boundaries where you don't let people in and you can't be vulnerable because you don't want to get hurt. I'm not talking about those type of boundaries, right? But it can be healthy emotional boundaries. It can also be physical boundaries where you've created an actual physical space for your sacred, prayer, chanting, or whatever. It can be a mental sacred space, some place that you go in meditation. Okay. But you need to be able to create something that you can go to, right? Where you're telling yourself the truth, you're checking in with yourself, and there's no judgment, right? There is no right or wrong way to feel, right? There's no right or wrong way to feel. Maybe sometimes how you choose to utilize those feelings, maybe a little bit destructive, maybe a little bit hurtful, maybe a little bit isolated, isolating yourself. But there is no right or wrong way to feel about how you feel about things. Okay? You are responsible for your own feelings. You just need to figure out why you feel the way you feel. And then you do something differently if that feeling needs a cause of change. All right. Okay. So y'all know the deal. Today was astrology, right? We're going to be back here on Wednesday with the actual tarot pull. Okay. And for those of you that are watching playback, you do not want to do anything in this energy to get a reaction. Right now, the energy is saying that you're going to have to pay attention to your relationships. Okay. Aquarius is breaking up anything that is not on your true path, but that energy, you can feel a little detached. Okay, so it's important for you to make sure that you're still checking in. And I want to say, check in on the people that you think are strong. So if you have a friend and you think that friend is super strong, you may just want to reach out and say, hey, how you doing? Right? they could probably use that right now. All right. So if y'all don't have anything else, I am going to head on out, and I'm going to see you guys on Wednesday. All right. So some updates. Okay. I don't know if I told you guys I had to hire somebody for help, because I have so much beautiful things coming to bring to you guys that I got overwhelmed, and I needed help. So I finally have somebody helping me. So it's going to take definitely about a month or so. I know it's probably a little longer in my contract or so to get things up and running. Hey, Angela, right? But we are going to do the 100-day journey, and I will keep you guys posted on that. I'm not doing any classes right now, but I am doing personal readings. So if you guys need a personal reading, you can definitely reach out to me. I will be on here on Mondays and Wednesdays. So Mondays we do the astrology breakdown, what the planets are doing. And then on Wednesdays, we're going to do the tarot pull, okay? If you're part of the Patreon community, the 369 tarot reading goes up on Wednesdays, and we're doing it for the following week, okay? So you need to know that, all right? And then what else am I missing? If you guys need to, like, your natal chart done and stuff, you guys can hit up Kim Warner. So that's going to be kim.warner27 gmail. And you can inquire about her prices, and also what type of readings, and if she even have, anything on the schedule, okay? So the classes and the meditations are coming back. Like I said, I just had to bring someone onto the team to kind of help me take care of some of the things that is just not my lane. And as that is up and running, it frees me up to tackle some of the other things that isn't within my lane, in my wheelhouse. So I'm excited about that, okay? You guys are going to see a lot more things happening on social media, so you definitely want to keep an eye on that. And I forget, I don't know if I'm missing anything else, but I'm gonna have to. Oh, last week I talked about, and I didn't do the correction on the video. Last week I talked about, in each religion is connected to a different type of deity, but they actually translate to be in the same type of architectural energy. And I was talking about Jesus, and I think last week I said Jesus was connected to Oshun. And it's actually not Oshun, it's Abathala, right? So Jesus is connected to the Abathala energy. So in the Yoruba, right, Jesus would be considered like the Abathala type energy source, okay? So if you are interested in this type of information, you guys can do your research with the Palamante type reading, okay? So Palamante type books or spiritual teachings can kind of give you an answer to how these deities cross connect, okay? I don't have the book in front of me, but I'll try to remember to get the name of the book so I can give that, that information to you guys. That could be a good starting point for you. But that book does have the different translation throughout the different cultures on the actual, ancient deities into Catholic, who the Catholic translate the same ancient deities as well as the Yoruba spirituality, how they translate the same deities. So, so just like Saint Peter will be translated into a Yoruba deity or a Palamante deity, right? So it's really what you're finding when you begin to study spirituality. They're really the same archetypes going throughout or intertwined throughout different cultures, but they're just called different things. Like the names are just different, okay? It's just like in my culture, right? We call, what fruit is it? There's a fruit called, I don't know, like, I guess you guys can know, like, I'm West Indian, so some West Indian cultures, we have the same type of fruit or vegetable, but in a different culture, it would be called something different. So let me give you an example. My kids are half Dominican, so in the Dominican, they call, like, the red sweet potato, like a bachata, right? In the West Indian culture, we just call it a sweet potato. You guys can, I think Americans call it yams, right? So it's the same vegetable, but across the culture, it's called different things. So it's the same in spirituality. You have the same deity or the same archetype, but depending on where it's studied from, it's called something different, right? So be mindful of that. Excuse me. So on that note, my loves, I appreciate y'all so much. I'm going to be back here on Wednesday, okay? Wednesday, we're going to get up into these cards and kind of see what we need to know. As well, once again, if you're part of the Patreon community, you will find your reading up on Wednesday. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to see you guys on Wednesday. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Bye.